the dream, but I'm happy, appreciative for that one there, man, if I'm honest with you. I do want to ask you, Dan, because you mentioned Madueke. Now, for me, I did feel initially at one point when we signed Madueke, while I don't get it per se beyond the obvious, because he does play in a position we need, and maybe that's kind of long-term thinking with maybe Trossard not being here next season. While I understood it, and I thought on one hand it might be backup, I did think as well, right, when do we spend 50 million on backup or a rotation option? Obviously, we've got Eze now, but I was kind of thinking about it. Now, I must admit, the Madueke signing looks a lot better with someone like Eze. Where are you at with Madueke in the first team fold? And you made a point as well about like Jesus and Havertz. When everybody's fit, excluding the Nelsons and them kind of ones, but Jesus could be here for a year, Havertz might be here for a year, and everyone else. We've got depth. But who is going to make that bench? Because there's a lot of wages. Like, there's a lot of wages, and only 9 man can be on that bench. So you need a goalie and some defenders. Like, what do you make of that on Madueke and potentially our bench?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a strong bench, bro, because people are looking at Ethan Nwaneri and Max as well coming through.
Yeah, even them.
On top of the players we've got. Okay, so when everyone's fit, David Raya in goal with Kepa as the goalkeeper. So that's the first sub, right? I think you're going to have one of Timber and White on the bench. I think it will probably be Ben White. I think Timber is definitely the better right back. Saliba and Gabriel, there'll be one defender, probably Mosquera on the bench. If Kivior stays, it could be him, but I don't know what's happening with him, bro. We'll come on to that in a minute. Left back, I think Lewis Skelly starts for me. Calafiori's on the bench. Some people would switch that round, but I prefer Lewis Skelly. I think what he did against Real Madrid and PSG, and I understand he can get caught out, but trust me, so can Calafiori. Crikey, he goes wandering. That
Pick him up for United, though.
yeah, brilliant for United, actually. He was one of my favourite players, actually, at Man United, and a goal as well. But that's that. So in midfield, I think you're going to leave Norgard on the bench and have Zubamendi. I think Marino will be on the bench. You have Rice. And then you've got Erdegaard, who starts. I think you're going to have Ethan, maybe. Saka will play right. Madueke will back him up. And then I think you're going to have Eze starting. And then one of the Martinelli, probably, if he doesn't go, on the bench. And then up top, you've got Havertz on the bench for Gyökeres. So that's your 9 subs, unless I've counted that incorrectly. I think when everybody's fit. Bang on. I think when everybody's fit. So you've got, goalkeeper, defender, fullback, midfielder, attacking midfielder, winger, striker. Yeah, so there's 2 more that you can put on there as well, to be fair.
You got Gabriel Jesus as well, if fit. Havertz, I know you mentioned him, but if fit. I probably think we'll get on to Nwaneri because I want to get on to him specifically. But Nwaneri, because of his age, you're not saying I would, but he might be, quote unquote, the easiest one to kind of leave out. Trossard or Martinelli. I thought both of them would be on the bench, but then obviously you killed the Madueke thing. And then and if that is the case, Dan, like regardless of Trossard signing a new deal and Martinelli rumors, because he's been linked with an 80 million move, like, do you feel one of them is still going to go this summer? Because surely if we are going to get Rodrigo, even more so now, if we have a chance, 1, maybe 2 got to go. And you also mentioned Kivior, who I think is cutting anyways, if I'm honest.
So let me answer the Kivior one first. I think it would be crazy to sell him and not bring anybody in. Because if you're not going to be bringing in a defender, let's say, it means you've got Tomiyasu and Kivior that have gone and just Mosquera that's come in, which means you're short again. Now, some people will say, no, we're not, because we've got Zinchenko. People need to please stop talking about Zinchenko playing at left back. We've got to stop this nonsense about Zinchenko playing at left back. He's not played there for months because Arteta don't rate him there anymore, yeah? I don't mind him playing into the central 8. I'm happy with midfield with him. I think he looks technically gifted there. But if people are going to be recognising him again as a left back, we're going backwards. So I think we need to have Calafiori and Lewis Skelly as left backs. Calafiori, who can play in the left-sided centre-back to cover for Gabriel, but Kivior's there, really. Mosquera and Saliba, and then Timber and White. If you're going to get rid of Kivior, then have Calafiori and Gabriel as your left-sided centre-backs. That's fine. But Lewis Skelly and Zinchenko are then your left-backs. And that's a worry for me, because both of those can get caught out, and both of them aren't really left-backs. So I think to not have a recognised left-back 7 years in is worrying, if I'm honest. However, that's perfection and putting cherry on the cake, and I think that we will do that in the summer. I just don't know what left backs people want. Like, people are talking about go and get a left back, but there's only Nuno Mendes that I want, and he's not leaving PSG.
Yeah, we ain't got the money for that this window.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So maybe we could go and get him next summer and slap down 90 million for him, but we ain't going to be able to get him this summer. I think he's unreal. I wanted him at Sporting when he was at Sporting. I said, go and get that left back from Sporting, Nuno Mendes. Who's that? Who's that? We know who he is
Now
now.
the world knows who he is.
Yeah, unbelievable. So that's what I think with that one. And then with what was the other question you asked me? Kivior was the first I said.
Kivior and the bench, because like you still got Jesus, and I understand there's injuries and whatnot, but from a financial point of view, whether it's Martinelli, Trossard,
Martinelli or
Trossard, surely one's still got a cut. I don't know.
So if none of them leave, we ain't signing Rodrigo. If none of them leave, we're not signing Rodrigo. If someone comes in, let's say it's Saudi, the dream happens, 70 million for Martinelli. I think he goes, and then Rodrigo will come in, or somebody like that will come in.
Do you think he'd want to go though to Saudi in a World Cup?
I don't really. But I think we're going to have to say to him, "You're off," because you can't. You're not going to get 70 M's for Martinelli when he's on 180k. The only clubs that can afford Martinelli's wages are over in Saudi, if I'm honest. Because there's no way that Real Madrid or Bayern Munich are going to go, right, let's get this Martinelli, and crikey, I ain't paying him that. So, do you know what I mean? We've put him on this ridiculous sum. When I think he was on about 30k, we stuck him on 180. I mean, like, why do we do this? Just what would have been wrong with 70? Man. I mean, what would have been wrong from going from 30 grand to 75? You know, but we don't. We go 180. Crikey. It's really bizarre, our wages. But yeah, I think that is the potential. If I had to be honest and put money on it, I think we're done. I think there's outgoings and we're done. And I think Martinelli and Trossard both stay. And I think Eze is their left winger for now. That's what I think will happen. And people will say, well, what about Eze? Where's he going to play if we bring in Rodrigo? Brilliant, isn't it? Ain't that good?
Everyone else seems to Liverpool make it work, City make it work, Chelsea damn well got to make it work. Bro. Let's make it work, man.
We used to make it work, DG.
We used to make it. We used to be sick of creative players.
When we were young, when we were at Highbury, who did we go and sign when we just pretty much won everything? We had Pires, went and signed Reyes. Yeah. We had Van Persie and Fabregas coming through. Yeah, RIP. We had Henry and Bergkamp started. We had Kanu and Wiltord. No one was asking where they're going to play. At right wing, we had Parler and Lundberg. No one was saying, where's Parler going to play? Where's Edu going to play? Where's Gilberto Silva going to play? Where's Clichy going to start? How's Clichy going to get into this team? No one was saying that. We were going and winning because we had a squad. And trust me, you think Eze's not going to play games? You think Ethan's not going to play games? We've got 4 competitions, bro. We want to go and win all of them. So we need a squad, bro. Need a squad.
You've been indirectly touching on it, and obviously Romano and everybody's confirming about Eze. I want to ask you one thing before I ask you where this man plays. Once we get beyond the glitz and glamour, if we just assume he plays left wing, some people say, yeah, I'm gassed about Eze. He can help us. He's a level raiser. They maintain all those positive things. We love it. And it's also, the main thing is that he's a great player. The others is that he's former Hayland. He's rejected Spurs. We didn't think we was going to get a player, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But some would say, rightly so, is he a signing that we actually need, as mad as that is? Like, is he going to be the long-term left wing? Is Mikel Arteta going to change anything in midfield to start Eze? Is he going to come in for Odegaard or rotate with Odegaard or potentially cause Mikel Arteta to drop him? He can actually play as a false 9 as well. Like, do you think he actually fixes anything? And where do you actually think he plays, man? Because I think this is a mad signing. Like, I need to see this work.
Yeah, I think it will work. And I'll tell you why. He might not play every single game, but I don't think that anyone's faith in this side at the moment. And that's what we want. I don't think you can say, well, this is the first 11 and no one gets in that 11 until one of them gets injured. I don't think it's like that. I really don't. You're going to get injuries. You're going to get suspensions as part of the game, as we saw last season. So we know he's going to get games. What's he going to bring? He's going to help us in low blocks because we need that. We need that, right? If you look at the stats.
Even the United game showed what we could do with Eze.
Precisely. But absolute great point. Yeah. And I think at the weekend, I think Leeds are going to potentially do something similar. So we're going to struggle to, break them down in the first 2025, no doubt. So I think when you look at that, he's going to help us with low blocks. The other thing he's going to do is he shoots from outside the box and scores from outside the box. That's something we don't have in our team. No one shoots. It's all the perfect goal. It's all flicking it over the top or going out wide or delivering it into the box.
Free kicks as well. He's amazing, man.
Unbelievable set piece taker. Great from outside the box. Great from inside the box in terms of getting on the end of stuff as well. So he's going to score all sorts of goals. He'll be in position to score all sorts of goals. The other thing that he's going to do is allow versatility. So let's just say, for example, he starts his first game at Arsenal in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully he comes in today and he starts on the left wing. And people are like, not sure it's working for him out there because there has been games for Palace where it hasn't worked for him. It's been brilliant cutting inside it, but sometimes he's been isolated a bit. So let's just say Declan Rice does I don't know, ankle tweak and he's going to be out
God
for the next
forbid.
game, right? Yeah, God forbid. He does an ankle tweak. He's out for the next game. He's back the one after. Zubameni can play 6, Ødegaard can play 8, and Eze can come into creative midfield. Or Ødegaard stays in the 10 and Eze can play attacking 8.
Or they're
from the
both
left.
8s.
Yeah, or they're both 8. So for me, that is why Eze could be so important for us this season. So those that are thinking he ain't really going to play, he's going to play on the left, ain't really going to work, ain't really a winger, not really going to see much of him unless Ødegaard gets injured. I do think it's waffle, if I'm honest, because we've already seen in the first game that Mikel Arteta has rotated with a couple of things that I was surprised by. In terms of the fullbacks, in terms of, Havertz and Madueke. We've seen with pre-season how Norgard started a few games. Marino started a lot more than I thought. Now, some of that absolutely is to get them fit, and I'm not deluded and naive enough to think that is the case. But at the same time, I do think that he's going to go more with rotation this season because I think he's going to learn from last season. So far, what I've seen is the amount of injuries we got. I don't think he can overplay the players we've got. And on top of that, we've got 3 or 4 of them that are coming back from long-term injuries, not just an ankle tweak. We're talking about scars down their hamstrings.
Our 2 right backs and our right winger. I'll start with.
Facts, bro. The other day, I don't think Timber and White were part of the opening training session because of that. So we have to now look at it and be serious and say, right, there's definitely players that aren't quite 100% yet. And that will come in the coming weeks. But we can't flog them all already. We've got to be careful. We've got the squad, use it. And this is one thing I will say about Arteta that has frustrated me over the years, not just last season. He hasn't trusted his squad. How many times have we had Vieira there not used, Smith Rowe not used, Nelson not used, Sterling not used? Because they were all sitting on the bench fit, but he was going with Saka, who was half fit, because he didn't rate the others. You've got to rate your squad now. He's got to use Madueke. He's got to use Eze. He's got to use Marino. He's got to use Ethan. I need to see this, man, because if I don't see it, I'm going to be frustrated again thinking this guy's not learnt. So he has to trust his squad, and I think he will this season. I think he has to, bro.
He's got no choice, man. And I'm keen with Eze. As much as I feel right now, the easiest inroad for Eze is probably off that left. Long term, I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't really care where he plays because I know on paper you could stick him left wing and in the game it's a very different thing. But I'd love to see him in midfield, whether that is on the left-hand side, and that obviously adds pressure to Mikel Arteta to fix that left-hand side and stop making us lopsided. Or do you put him on the right-hand side where he could link up with Timber or White and obviously Bukayo and all of those kind of things? Or do you keep him on the left in midfield? And do you actually change your midfield? Do Rice and Zubamendi potentially have to play every game? Could we get back to not quite Wenger ball, but you've got all of those kind of players? Then you throw Wanyeri into the mix. We've got different solutions, whether it's in game, whether it's rotating, whether it's genuinely being kind of competitive. And I want to ask you this because it is like as exciting as it is, and I've maintained this position on your platform, on my platform. Obviously, where you look at getting better as a team, and maybe it's the England thing, in improving. Everybody finds it sexy with signings. And of course, I would rather hear about signing Eze, Zubamendi, Gyökeres in particular, than what Mikel Arteta is doing on the training ground. But those things are as important, if not more. You can buy the clothes. If you don't know how to tie a tie and whatnot, there's issues. And I can't sit here and talk about, low blocks and U-shaped football and needing to play football, in a more entertaining manner. It feels like the whole world after beating Man United wants to tell Arsenal about that kind of stuff when our manager, our players and our fans have been echoing this forever. Like, do you think it adds more pressure on Mikel Arteta to fix the attacking kind of issues in our team, especially when you've got a Gyökeres who's bagged, which I think everyone keeps forgetting, who's bagged for his country, bagged for Sporting, obviously bagged for Coventry, comes into this team. If he doesn't score, there's pressure. Obviously, there's Eze. We will need to see Odegaard back in form. We always say to ourselves, if we, kind of fix that, how good Saka would be. So it's like, how much faith do you have in Arteta to kind of change our attacking play or get the best out of all of our team and create from all angles? And how much pressure do you think these signings add to that?
There's only 2 questions he's got to answer, DG. The first one is, can you get us across the line, which we discussed earlier? The other question is, and I think it's a simple question for the last one, can you get this attack working? That is literally the only 2 questions that he's got to answer. Because if he does those 2 things and he gets the attack firing and we're scoring goals, it means we're going to win games. It means we're going to win trophies. He's just killed 2 birds, 1 stone. Get this attack working. There's no reason why we can't win trophies. Because you can't tell me, bruv, that Ødegaard best season at 15 goals. Saka scores 30 GA. You've got Havertz who got 14 when he was fit. Gyökeres has just scored 102. Eze gets about 15 goals and assists. Martinelli got the similar a couple of years ago. You're telling me none of them can score goals? You can't get any of these working. They're all clowns. They're all donkeys in front of goal. No, it's the opposite. They're fire in front of goal. The problem is he's gone so PTSD with his possession-based football. That it's just like fling it into the box, don't lose the game, don't go all out attack because you'll leave yourself exposed. He needs to let the shackles off, man. He needs to let us be free-flowing because, one, it makes it better for the fans to watch, and two, you start scoring goals, believe it or not. So I always said about Arsene Wenger, no matter what people said about him, defensively he was a shambles towards the end, but he weren't a shambles in front of goal. We were brilliant to watch. We were always scary on the break, on the counter. And
Only
I think
Barcelona could
now
talk to
that
us in
we've
terms